Shock here with another Pro Tools 10 tutorials. This is part 2 of my editing YouTube tutorial. So in this tutorial, our objectives are understanding the insert time and cut time operations, using region alignment, and using nudging options for your audio regions. So let's go ahead and let's dive into this, guys. So the insert time and cut time is something that most people should really learn because let's say a client is almost done with his session, recording, whatever, and he says, hey, I want to add some 10 seconds to the beginning, and the 10 seconds would have a sound effect or just straight silence. And in order to do this, it's really, really simple. You just have to have a selection of 10 seconds. So let's change this to time code here. 10 seconds will be right here. A selection of 10 seconds. Then we have to go to our event tab up on your tabs up here. Then go to time operations. And if they want time inserted, obviously you go to the insert time. And since you have this already selected, it's going to pull up all the information for you here. Start time 000, end time 11 seconds. So that's a 10-second selection. So here you can apply, and there's different options down here. If you want to apply this to your meters, tempos, key, etc. You would want to apply it to all just to keep things safe for you. So you just hit apply here, and voila, you got 10 seconds of extra silence in the beginning of your session. Now, cut time is the opposite. Let's say there was a section in your session. Let's undo that. And let's just select, I don't know, a random part of back here. And switch this to bars and beats as well. Let's say there's a selection back here that the artist didn't want anymore. You know, maybe it's a repetition or something. Let's make this bigger for you. And he just wants it out. So the best way to do this to ensure that your whole entire session stays in time is to use the event operations window and go to cut time. And again, if you have a selection, it's going to tell you what your selection start is, your end, and the length of your selection. Your meter and all this should be selected, all your meter, tempo, key, all of this should be selected. And if you hit apply, it's going to delete that selection. Now, as you saw, it deleted part of my instrumental up here, and that's a bad thing. So make sure when you're using cut time that you're not cutting anything in your session. So the best way to do that is to use just a selection on a track, not using the time or the ruler up here, because that selects everything in your session. So make sure it's just a selection that's not going to affect anything in your session, and then you can use the cut time operations to diminish the time in your session. Alright, so that's pretty much it for the cut time and insert time operations. Again, those were under event and time operations, and you can cut and insert time there accordingly. Now let's touch base on this region, this different region alignments and such. There's a little, again, these are little editing techniques. Let's switch this to bar 1. Let's switch the nudge volume to 16th notes so we can touch base on this. Now there's different little editing techniques here for nudging. Obviously, if you have slip mode activated in Pro Tools, that's F2 on your keyboard, and enables slip mode. You can move regions around freely, even to different, tracks. But as far as time is concerned, you can move it around freely without it, being in time or to a grid value. Most of the time, you really don't want that. you want to make sure things are in and on the grid. So you'll enable this by F4, make sure you're in grid mode, and making sure that your grid value is set to either whatever you want, 1 bar, quarter notes, and it'll move quarter notes, etc., etc. So that's how you would move regions around in Pro Tools according to the grid. But let's say you know that this top track is in time, correct? And this bottom track isn't, but you want it synced up to this top track. There's a quick way to do this in Pro Tools, and that is making sure that this top track is selected, holding Control and just clicking on the bottom track. And as you can see, let's do that one more time. Clicking the top track, hitting Control, clicking on the bottom track, and this syncs the starting point with the top region here. As you can see, both my starting points are completely synced up there. Now you notice that, if you notice, let's go back to my Smart Tool. Let's go back to a different value here. There's a bunch of space here at the beginning, so these tracks aren't synced up audio wise, but that's a good starting point for you if you're gonna use that quick edit technique there. Or if this didn't have, this blank space here, that would have synced up a lot better. Let's do that. Hold Control, click the bottom track, and as you can see, you'll be able to move it accordingly to sync up. So if you know that your sessions or audio regions have space in front of them, just shorten it with your trim tool, and then use that technique to make them in time. There's another little technique I wanted to show you here. Give me a second. Control Command. Let's see what. Yes, as with this bottom track here. Now, if you have a selection, let's say with your selector tool here, and you're on the grid. This works best when you're on the grid. Let's say your cursor here is on 3030, like I have it right now, and this little audio file is just floating here at 36, but you want it at 33. The best way to do this is to hold Control Command on a Mac or Control Start on a PC, and just click on the region. As you see, it jumped to that specific selection that I made on the grid, and it brought it in front of the 33, not behind the 33. So again, if I wanted it over here by 32, I would just hold Control Command on a Mac and then just click it using the grabber tool, and it jumps over here. So that's another quick way to move regions around it and make sure that things are in time. And of course, you can do that with multiple, or a bigger region, I should say. Why that one's jumping to the front is beyond me. I want it here. Oh, I see what's happening. No, I don't see what's happening. I guess because it's a bigger region. It's jumping there randomly. But yeah, as you saw, this big region obeyed me. And holding Control Command made it jump to wherever I selected. And of course, you don't have to be in grid mode to do this. You can just select randomly. You can hold Control Command. As you can see, my cursor is blinking over here, and bam, it's going to jump over to where it was blinking. But again, if you're using audio stuff, you should be on a grid so you can stay in time. Sorry guys, I forgot to show you the nudge functions in Pro Tools as well here. And to enable this, you have to have your nudge value set to a a specific grid value here, and you have to have your grid value on, or your grid on I should say. That's how you enable it, by this grid button up here. And if this isn't showing, guys, the way to do that is to click this right bottom, this arrow, excuse me, and make sure that your transport is showing, or just all is showing, and it'll show you everything up here. You can also enable and disable this through your little mini window transport here, making sure that all the functions are on here, and you have your grid value here somewhere. I guess not. So I guess that's only up here where your grid value is. Let's minimize this. So yeah, your grid value will be up here, so this will never go away. But if your transport isn't showing, you need to make sure it's active up here so you can record or whatever, listen, playback. Your options are up here. And command one on your key, your side keyboard here is how you enable your transport window, the floating one. So that's how you do that. Again, let's touch base on this nudge value here. Nudging in Pro Tools is really helpful for you guys, and for anyone really, because if you sync it to the grid, let's say I want to do quarter notes here, right? And you click an audio region. If you hit period and comma on your keyboard, period moves it to the right, comma moves it to the left, your regions. So you can really get accurate with in slide mode, if you're in slide mode without using the grid, with little minute syncing of audio for film, etc., etc. But in the recording world with music and stuff, you want to make sure you're on the grid. And if you want to sync up things perfectly, you would just use your trim tool here. Make sure that this audio region is at the beginning of your selection here, or your region, and you can move it accordingly, and it should sync up to the grid perfectly. So that's how you would use nudging to mess around with your audio regions here in Pro Tools. And again, you can change the grid values here. If you change it to 64th notes, it'll move accordingly. 64th notes here. You can change this in your transport to like 40, and you hit enter. The selection moves to there. Your end, let's say 55, your selection moves to there. That's just for selecting things in Pro Tools, not nudging. Disable that. Again, make sure your grid value is on, your nudge value is on, and if they're not syncing, let's say for whatever reason you have it in one bar and it's not moving one bar, it's because you have to adjust your nudge value to one bar, and then it'll move to one bar. So if you have your grid to one bar, your nudge value has to be at one bar as well, in order for you to move things accordingly. Let's move that there. See, now it's moving accordingly. In fact, yeah, now that's moving right. Okay, guys. I just wanted to add that in there because that should have been, I have to edit my last video. I cut it a little short. But yeah, that's how you use nudge in Pro Tools to nudge your audio regions around, comma and period in your keyboard. Make sure your grid is set up. If you want to use your grid, you don't have to. You can use slip mode again to move things around accordingly. And you can change it to minutes and seconds for your nudge value. You can change it to samples. I mean, that's really going really minute. If you're using slip mode here, and you're going that route, you have to adjust this accordingly, and you can move it. So again, that's a really good way to sync up things in Pro Tools. Make sure if you're doing film, you set it to time code, and if you're doing audio, you set it to bars and beats. and make sure it's enabled. Your grid is enabled. Guys, that's all I got for you as far as these editing part 2 video. If I think of anything else I can teach you straight out of the book, because I'm using a Pro Tools book to teach you guys, I will make another video. But as far as part 1 and part 2, I mean, you guys should, there's abundance of information in there for you guys to start editing away in Pro Tools and getting comfortable. And over time, you'll just fly through these things and will learn easier. So I hope I was of value to you today. Again, subscribe to my channel if you like my tutorials. And Earshock out.